I want you to try something with me right now. Just clear your throat. Go ahead. One time. That little ahem you just did. Now be honest with me. How many times have you already done that today? 10? 20? More than you could count? And here is the part that really gets under people's skin. You cannot even remember when it started. It did not slam into you overnight. It slid in quietly. First, it was just something in the mornings, a little thickness you swallowed away with your first cup of coffee. Then it hung around a bit longer, into the middle of the day. And now? Now it is just there, all the time. That sticky, stubborn coating at the back of your throat that will not go anywhere no matter how hard you try to clear it. You have got a bottle of water in every room. You keep lozenges in your coat pocket, in the car, by the bed. You have quietly stopped talking as much on the phone because your voice gives out or you have to keep stopping to clear it. Maybe you have even caught yourself doing that little throat-clearing sound in the middle of dinner with your family, and you saw them glance at you, and you felt it. That flush of embarrassment, that quiet worry. Now, I need you to really hear me on this next part. That mucus is not random. It is not just a nuisance you are stuck with because you have had a few more birthdays than you used to. Your body does not waste energy on pointless things. A symptom that has been hanging around this long, this stubbornly, is your body sending you a message. The trouble is, almost nobody has ever taught you how to read it. And too often, nobody has even bothered to sit down and look properly. That is exactly why I am here with you today. Because in my years working in preventive health with people between 60 and 80 years old, I can tell you honestly, this one problem, this constant mucus at the back of the throat, is misunderstood more than almost anything else that walks through the door. You get handed a spray. You get told to drink more water. You get told it is allergies. And sometimes, if we are being truthful, you just get brushed off. Meanwhile, the real reason, or more often the two reasons stacked on top of each other, sits there quietly, never actually getting touched. So today we change that. I am going to walk you through, one at a time, the 5 real, research-backed reasons adults between 60 and 80 end up with this stubborn throat mucus. But I am not going to leave it there, the way most people do. Because at the very end, I am going to give you the exact, zero-cost evening routine, the one simple set of steps you can start tonight, that breaks this whole cycle at the root. That is the thing you clicked for. That is the payoff. And I am going to make sure you actually get it. But you will want to understand the 5 causes first, because that routine will not make sense until you do. My name is Dr. Julian Wells. I work in preventive health and senior wellness. And my promise to you is the same one I always make. No complicated medical jargon. No scaring you half to death. Just plain talk, real science, and steps you can actually use in your own home tonight. But before we go one step further, I want to know something from you. Is your throat worse first thing in the morning, or does it stick with you pretty much all day long? Because that single answer tells me a great deal about what is likely driving this for you. So do me a favor, drop the word morning, or drop the words all day in the comments below. I read every one of them personally. Now, before we get to those 5 causes, we have to start with one small piece of biology that almost nobody has ever taken the time to explain to you. And once you understand it, everything after this is going to click into place. Here it is. Your body makes mucus every single minute of every single day, around the clock, whether you notice it or not. That is normal. That is healthy. You actually need it. Mucus is the protective coating lining your airways, from your nose all the way down into your lungs. It catches dust. It traps germs before they get down where they can do real harm. It keeps the delicate tissue of your throat soft and moist. Without it, your airways would dry out and crack, and every single thing you breathed in would irritate you. So do not think of mucus as your enemy. It never was. The problem is not that you make mucus. The problem is what happens to that mucus as we get older. There is a system in your body called mucociliary clearance. Let me make that simple. The lining of your airways is carpeted with millions of tiny hair-like structures called cilia. Think of them as a microscopic conveyor belt, sweeping constantly, moving that mucus up and out so it never pools, never sits, never builds up. You swallow it without even noticing. In a younger body, this happens in seconds. Quiet, smooth, invisible. But study after study confirms what many of you have already felt in your own body. As we age, those cilia slow down. That conveyor belt does not run as fast. It is not as coordinated as it used to be. So mucus that would have been cleared in seconds when you were 40 can now sit, pool, and gather for hours when you are 65, 70, or 80. Now, I am not saying this to make you feel old. I am telling you because it is the foundation of the entire puzzle. It means any little thing that nudges your body into making even slightly more mucus is going to hit you harder and last far longer than it ever would have 30 years ago. So keep that in your back pocket. Now let us get into the 5 causes. Listen closely because I am going to show you exactly how they pile onto one another. Cause number 1. This is the one I want you to pay the very closest attention to, because in this age group it is the single most missed explanation for stubborn throat mucus. It is called laryngopharyngeal reflux. I know, that is a real mouthful. So let me make it plain. Most people know heartburn, that burning behind the breastbone after a heavy meal. That is classic reflux, and it announces itself loudly. But there is another version, a quieter, sneakier version that produces no burning at all. No heartburn, no indigestion, nothing you would ever connect to your stomach. The only thing it produces is a throat that simply will not settle. Here is what is actually going on. At the bottom of your esophagus, where it meets your stomach, there is a small muscular valve. Its whole job is to stay shut after you eat, keeping stomach acid locked down where it belongs. As we get older, that valve, like a lot of muscles, loses some of its tone. It does not seal quite as tightly. And when that happens, tiny amounts of acid can creep upward. Not into the chest where you would feel it, all the way up into the throat, into the voice box. Sometimes even up behind the nose. And here is the key. The tissue lining your throat was never built to handle stomach acid. It is far more delicate than the tissue in your esophagus. Far more delicate than the tissue in your esophagus. So the moment even a trace of acid touches it, your body does exactly what it is designed to do. It floods the area with thick, protective mucus to coat and shield that irritated tissue. That is a smart response. The problem is, when it is happening night after night while you sleep, you wake up every single morning with that heavy, sticky coating, and you have no earthly idea why, because you never felt a thing. The ENT research is very clear here. A large share of people with this silent form of reflux report no heartburn whatsoever. What they do report is exactly what you are living with: constant throat clearing, a gravelly, rough voice first thing in the morning, and that stubborn mucus waiting for them the moment they open their eyes. So ask yourself, honestly, is your throat much worse when you first wake up than later in the day? Does it get worse when you bend forward or lie down? Has your morning voice changed, even a little? Those are the fingerprints of silent reflux. And here is one more piece that matters for a lot of you. If you regularly take anti-inflammatory pills for joint pain, things like ibuprofen or naproxen, the research is consistent that this class of medicine can thin out the natural protective lining of your stomach, which may make reflux, including this silent kind, more likely to show up or get worse. Keep that in mind. We will come back to it. Now, I told you these causes stack, and you are about to see exactly how. Because cause number 2 hides right on top of it. Cause number 2. This one flies under the radar because it is so quiet. When people think sinus problem, they picture the dramatic version: pounding headache, face full of pressure, completely blocked nose. But in a huge number of adults between 60 and 80, chronic sinus inflammation looks like none of that. You breathe more or less fine. No terrible headache, but slowly, quietly, your sinuses are producing just a touch more mucus than they should, and that extra mucus is draining, steadily, down the back of your throat, hour after hour, day and night. That is post-nasal drip, and here is the part that traps people. Because it is so subtle, most folks assume it must be allergies, and they reach for antihistamines from the pharmacy shelf. I understand the instinct, but here is the catch. Antihistamines may dry that mucus temporarily, but they do not touch the underlying inflammation that is causing the overproduction in the first place. So you often end up with dried, thickened, sticky mucus glued to the very back of your throat, which is frequently even more irritating than what you started with. The approach with the most consistent research behind it is also one of the simplest and cheapest things on earth: regular nasal rinsing with warm salt water. A 2025 clinical review looked across a wide body of evidence, and concluded that nasal irrigation is an effective, safe, low-cost strategy treating and helping prevent problems of the upper respiratory tract. ENT specialists around the world recommend it. Why does it work? Because a proper saline rinse physically washes that inflammatory mucus out. It calms the swelling in the nasal lining, and it supports that mucociliary clearance system, the conveyor belt we talked about, the very one that has naturally slowed down with age. But the word that matters most is consistency. One rinse buys you a day of mild relief. Daily rinsing, done properly, week after week, is what actually shifts things. And I am going to give you the exact way to do this rinse safely at the end, in the routine. But first, there is a cause hiding in a place you would never think to look. Somewhere you touch every single morning. Cause number 3. This is the one that genuinely stuns people, because it is sitting in plain sight. Your medicine cabinet. The very pills you have been taking faithfully, every single day, for months or even years, are usually the last thing anyone thinks to question when it comes to a throat problem. There is a class of blood pressure medicine called ACE inhibitors. Millions of people take them. They are effective. They are important. For many people, they are genuinely necessary. But they carry a well-recognized class-wide effect that the research documents clearly. These medicines allow a substance called bradykinin to build up in the body, and in a meaningful share of people, that buildup can create a persistent throat irritation and a constant nagging urge to clear the throat. This is not an allergy. Nothing strange is happening to you. It is simply how that medicine works, and your throat happens to be sensitive to it. And here is why it gets missed so badly. The timing. This effect does not usually show up the next day. It can take weeks, even months, after starting the pill to develop. So if you started a new blood pressure medicine last year, and your throat started acting up a few months after that, almost nobody connects those two dots. But that exact timeline is the pattern the research describes. And older adults appear to be more prone to it than younger ones. Now, please hear me carefully on this. I am not telling you to stop any medication. Never do that on your own. What I am telling you is that this is a conversation worth having. If you take a blood pressure pill and you are not sure whether it is an ACE inhibitor, your pharmacist can tell you in under a minute. And there are other classes, ARBs, that control blood pressure just as well without this particular effect. Whether that fits you is a decision for you and your own prescribing doctor, together. Write down when your throat symptoms started, bring it to them, and let them guide it. Now, the next cause seems almost too obvious. Please do not roll your eyes at it, because the twist in it is the reason so many of you are struggling without even realizing. Cause number 4, hydration. Yes, water. Stay with me, because the aging twist here is everything. Your mucus is mostly water. Whether it is thin and slippery and easy to clear, or thick and gluey and stubborn, comes down almost entirely to how hydrated you are. Picture fresh honey, warm, pouring easily off the spoon. Now picture honey left out, gone thick and sluggish and clinging to everything. Same substance, completely different behavior. Only difference is water. Your mucus behaves the exact same way. Here is the twist that makes this so important past 60. Your thirst signal, the internal alarm that says drink now, becomes far less reliable as you age. A younger person feels thirsty long before there is any real problem. But an older adult can be dehydrated enough to noticeably thicken their mucus, enough to make the throat miserable, without feeling much thirst at all. So if you are waiting until you feel thirsty to drink, you are almost certainly running a step behind, day after day. And that quiet, low-level dehydration keeps your mucus thick and gluey, which is the very last thing your already slowed cilia need. Hold on to cause 1 and cause 4, both of them, because at the very end, I am going to show you how those two specifically lock together into the trap most of you are actually caught in. But there is one more cause, and it is the one that comes from a place nobody expects. It is not your throat. It is not your nose. It is not even your stomach. Cause number 5. For a real number of older adults living with stubborn throat mucus, the root of the trouble is in the gut. I know how that sounds, but the research is genuinely clear on this. Your digestive tract and your respiratory system are connected through something scientists call the gut-lung axis. Through immune signals and nervous system pathways, what is happening down in your gut can influence how inflamed and how reactive your airways are, and how much mucus they produce. When the balance of your gut bacteria, that vast community living in your intestines, gets thrown off, a state researchers call dysbiosis, it can set off immune signals that encourage extra mucus production up in the airways. Not because anything is wrong with your throat, but because your gut is sending inflammatory messages, and your airways are answering them. This is not a fringe idea. It has been documented in respected peer-reviewed journals and in animal studies. Transferring a disrupted gut microbiome produced measurably more airway mucus. That is a real demonstration of cause and effect. And what throws the gut off balance in adults between 60 and 80? Nothing mysterious. A diet lower in fiber than it should be, repeated rounds of antibiotics over the years, higher sugar intake, and chronic stress that has quietly built up. Everyday realities for so many of us. You will not fix this with a lozenge, but you can begin, gently and consistently, to support it. And I will show you the simplest way to start, in the routine. Now, before I hand you that routine, I have to pause for something genuinely important, and I need you to take it seriously. For the vast majority of people, the mucus we have talked about today is harmless. It is exactly what I have laid out. Manageable, addressable, not dangerous. But sometimes the body uses a symptom to point at something that needs a professional set of eyes, not a home routine. So please, do not wait, and make an appointment with your own doctor if you notice any of the following. If your mucus is ever tinged with blood, even a little. If you are having growing difficulty swallowing that seems to be getting worse. If you have lost weight without trying, alongside this throat problem. If you can feel a lump or a lasting swelling in your neck. Or if your voice has changed significantly and is not bouncing back. Those go well beyond today's conversation. Bring them to your doctor. All right. With that said, here is what you have been waiting for. The exact evening routine and the morning step that goes with it that breaks this cycle at the root. Think of this not as a prescription, but as a simple self-observation experiment you run on your own body for the next 2 weeks. Everything we have covered comes together right here. Grab a pen if you can. Step 1. Tonight, stop eating at least 3 full hours before you lie down. When you eat and then recline, your stomach is still working, and that valve, the one that has weakened a little with age, has the hardest possible time staying sealed. 3 hours upright after your last bite is one of the most well-supported, no-cost things you can do to quiet that nighttime silent reflux. This step alone targets cause number 1. Step 2. Tonight, raise the head of your bed slightly, not with a stack of pillows under your head. All that does is kink your neck and change nothing. Instead, put a firm wedge under the mattress at the head end, or place something solid under the 2 legs at the headboard. Even a small incline uses simple gravity to keep acid from traveling up toward your throat while you sleep. Again, aimed straight at cause number 1. Step 3. Tonight, right before bed, drink 1 full glass of warm water. That is it. It supports your hydration overnight, so you are less likely to wake up with that heavy coating. This is your first strike against cause number 4. Step 4. Tomorrow morning, before your coffee, before your breakfast, drink 1 to 2 full glasses of plain warm water. I cannot tell you how much this one small habit changes people's mornings. It rehydrates you immediately, and it helps loosen the mucus that pooled overnight. It costs you nothing. For many of you, this single step will change how your throat feels within a few days. Step 5. This week, pick up a nasal rinse device from the pharmacy, a neti pot or a squeeze bottle, either is fine. And here is the safety part, so listen closely. Only use water that has been boiled and then cooled to comfortably warm, never straight from the tap. Add a small pinch of plain salt, and if you like, a very tiny pinch of baking soda to help thin the mucus. Use it once a day, ideally in the morning. Give it a full 2 weeks of daily use before you judge it. Consistency is the whole game here. This one takes on cause number 2. Step 6. This week, book a specific appointment with your doctor to review your medication list, with your throat in mind. Do not just wave at it. Come prepared. Write down when your throat symptoms started and when you last started or changed any medicine. Lay that timeline in front of them. And if you take a blood pressure pill, ask directly whether it is an ACE inhibitor and whether an alternative might make sense for you. That is how you address cause number 3, safely, with the right person guiding it. Step 7, starting this week. Support that gut-airway connection, gently. Add 1 small serving of a fermented food to your day. Plain yogurt with live cultures. a small glass of kefir, a little sauerkraut or kimchi. You do not overhaul anything. One small, steady addition. This is a long game, and it slowly shifts your baseline over the coming weeks. That is cause number 5, handled patiently. And step 8, every day. Be deliberate about water. Set a reminder if you need one. Keep a glass within reach in every room you sit in. And remember, water-rich foods count too. Soups, cucumber, melon, warm herbal teas. The goal is not to gulp a gallon at once. It is steady sips all day long. This is how you finally close the door on cause number 4. Now, one quick word on the home remedies I know many of you have already tried. Honey is genuinely soothing on irritated throat tissue, and it is safe, so there is no harm in it. But understand, it soothes the surface. It does not touch any of the 5 roots. As for dairy, the science does not support the idea that it manufactures mucus out of nothing. But some people do notice a thicker feeling after it. So if that is you, a 2 or 3 week trial of cutting back is a reasonable little experiment to see how your own body responds. And apple cider vinegar, please be cautious with that one. If silent reflux is even part of your picture, adding more acid can make things worse, not better. Now, I promised you at the very start that I would show you how 2 of these 5 stack together into the trap most of you are actually caught in. Here it is. It is cause number 1 and cause number 4, silent reflux and quiet dehydration. Working as a team, here is why they are so vicious together. Silent reflux is constantly irritating the back of your throat, so your body is constantly answering by producing more protective mucus. And at the very same time, that blunted thirst signal is leaving you mildly dehydrated day after day, which turns that mucus thick and gluey, exactly the kind your slowed-down cilia cannot sweep away. So you have more mucus being made and less ability to clear it, more coming in the front door, less going out the back. That is the loop. That is why this has felt so impossible to shake, no matter what you tried. And now look at the routine I just gave you. The 3-hour rule, the raised bed, the warm water at night and morning. They hit both sides of that loop at once. Less irritation, thinner mucus. The cycle finally starts to break. And here is what to watch for. Many people notice their morning throat feeling lighter within about 3 days of the water steps alone. Give the full routine 2 weeks, done consistently, before you judge any of it. Consistency is the difference between, that did nothing, and, I cannot believe how different I feel. So please hear me leave you with this. That stubborn mucus is not something you have to accept. It is not just getting old, it has reasons, real ones, up to 5 of them, and you now know exactly what they are and exactly what to do tonight. If today gave you something useful, do me one small favor. Share this with one person who has been quietly clearing their throat for far too long. A spouse, a sibling, a friend. That share costs nothing, but it might be the first time they finally understand what is happening inside their own body. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which of the 5 surprised you the most and how long you have been living with this. I read every single one. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing, because my next one goes deep into that gut-lung connection we touched on today, and how it quietly drives so many of the complaints I hear from folks in your age group. You will not want to miss it. Until next time, this is Dr. Julian Wells, reminding you to take good care of yourself. The information in this video is for general educational purposes only, and is not medical advice. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any condition. Always consult your own physician or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, medications, or health routine, and never stop or change a prescribed medication without speaking to your doctor first